Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello and welcome to The Print. I'm Snesh Alex Philip. The last few days have brought a lot of bad news. One such news was the loss of lives of over 50 workers off the shore of the Mumbai because of Cyclone Tauktae, as it is called. The casualty figures would have actually gone much higher because there were over 600 workers who were at sea working on an ONGC project when the cyclone struck. Had it not been for the timely assistance by the Navy and the Coast Guard, the things would have been totally different. The Navy carried out a splendid operation, has rescued close to about 188 lives, and continue to carry out search and rescue operation as we speak. Remember that the Navy was deployed on Monday, and the cyclone really took a turn for the worse by Monday night, and there were heavy casualties that were there. But as I said earlier, had the Navy not been deployed, things would have been much grim. And I have with me Commodore Alok Ananda. He is the Commodore in charge of the Naval Operations at the integrated headquarters of the Navy here in New Delhi. I have with me, and he will walk us through how the Navy planned this operation and the challenges that the Navy faced. Welcome to The Print, Commodore.
Hi, good evening, Sneh.
So, the first question that comes to my mind is, when did you receive the SOS call, sir?
Yeah, I'll just take you a little back. It was about 12th or 13th, then when we started getting the indication of a depression forming about 450 nautical miles southwest of Mumbai, somewhere near our Lakshadweep and Minicoy Islands. And with this impending cyclone, we started our preparations in full swing, and we got our naval commands in those areas and all our operational units ready for any calamity at sea. It was on 16th when we received our first SOS of a vessel, that is Coromandel Supporter 9, being stranded off the coast of New Mangalore. That day, the conditions in Goa and Cochin were very severe. On 17th morning, we were able to launch helicopters both from Cochin and Goa, and we were able to rescue 4 people from Coromandel Supporter 9. The storm kept on moving northward and converted into severe cyclonic storm, later on graded into extremely severe cyclonic storm when it was off the coast of Mumbai. And on 17th morning, we got a news that the Barge P 305, which was deployed in our offshore development area of Mumbai, that vessel has broken all her anchors and she is drifting uncontrollably, completely at the mercy of the natural forces, the wind and the waves. We immediately sailed our ships from Mumbai. That time, the conditions in Mumbai harbor were severe. The winds were of the speed of about 120 to 140 kilometers per hour. The waves within the harbor were about 3 to 4 meters high. Visibility was very poor. It was raining very heavily. It was very difficult to maneuver the ship out of harbors where the space is generally very restricted. Notwithstanding, one after another, 3 of our ships sailed out from Mumbai and proceeded to that area. By the time the first naval ship arrived there, this barge, unfortunately, which had lost control over its movements, had gone and collided with an unmanned oil rig nearby.
Yeah.
Now you could very well imagine when the waves are high, when the wind is very strong, and 2 objects colliding with each other, aided by these strong natural forces. So the effect is generally quite catastrophic. As was expected, the vessel had started taking in water because of that collision, and it was tilting dangerously to one side. When first ship, that is INS Kochi, arrived at the scene, if I could just describe the weather in the area, the sea state was about 6 to 7. That translates into wave height of about 7 to 8 meters.
Oh gosh.
Okay,
Okay.
that is about more than 20 to 22 feet high waves. The wind condition there, because that was exactly where the cyclone was passing through. The wind conditions there were about 140 to 150 kilometers per hour. Visibility was almost nil. It was late in the evening. Darkness was descending fast, and the panic-stricken crew of Papa 305 had already decided to abandon the vessel, and they were all in water all over the place. It was a Herculean task, made more difficult by the prevailing conditions, because the captain of the ship and the crew of the naval ship, they not only had to keep the ship safe, there was nothing actually visible in those conditions. Notwithstanding that, through sheer ingenuity and innovativeness and this instinct of being a seaman and having braved the forces of nature so many times in our career, they were able to actually pick up one by one all those people who were floating in water, either in life raft or with the life jackets on. And you must have seen the videos which have come. It was actually one of the most challenging operations that was undertaken. This kind of conditions and this complete chaotic situation there outside the ship went on for almost 24 hours when the weather showed first sign of relenting. But those 24 hours, those 3 ships which were there in the area, they had very, very difficult task of rescuing these people. And we are very happy actually to report to you that we, in spite of all these adverse conditions prevailing there, we were able to rescue close to about 188 people. And thereafter, the operations continued. As we speak, the operations continue. We have been able to recover the mortal remains of about 58 personnel so far. All the rescued personnel as well as the recovered mortal remains have been brought to Mumbai and have been handed over to the authorities there. But we are not yet over. We continue with our operation because we still have to account for the missing. And now that the weather has become slightly better, we are pressing in our specialized equipment and ships in the service, because Barge P305 sank at about 1900 hours on 17th. And we have a general location as to where it had sank. And we expect that there could be some more bodies trapped inside. So we are getting a ship there. We are getting our specialized diving teams. And thereafter, diving will be carried out, where our divers will go to that sunken barge and they will look for any kind of missing personnel still trapped over there in that unfortunate barge.
So, Commodore, you're telling me that the Navy will deploy the divers on Saturday, and these divers will go down to the particular spot where where the barge is supposed to have sunk and look for the remains of those who are missing, right, Commodore?
The vessel is already on its way, and it would arrive sometime tonight. And not only Barge P305, but we also will be looking for tug Varaprada, which is also reported to have sunk, because we recovered 2 crew members of Varaprada alive. And as per the account given by them, the barge sank and the remaining 11 crew members of Varaprada still remain unaccounted for. So we would be carrying out diving both for Papa 305 as well as Varaprada.
And Commodore, you mentioned something, something very interesting, and the rescue operation continued for 24 hours. So you were picking up people from the sea for nearly 24 hours continuously.
We are into the 5th day of rescue operation. The rescue operation has continued unabated. What I said actually was the first 24 hours were the most, it kind of most difficult as far as this SAR operation was concerned, because that was the time when actually the cyclone was passing overhead. And that time the conditions are at their worst. So those 24 hours were little different in the sense that we could neither launch our boat, we could neither launch our helo, which is generally the mode for recovering something from sea,
Yes.
which has fallen overboard. So it had to be done while controlling the movements of that, the ship which was deployed there. The weight of that ship is more than 7,000 tons. Now, controlling something, that steel behemoth of 7,000 tons, maneuvering it so delicately that you go close to a person who is floating at sea uncontrollably and you pick him up without actually injuring him. That requires extremely high degree of ship handling skills. It requires nerves of steel to be in that kind of a situation, and thereafter extend that line of life to that person who is waiting for you to rescue him.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And this was actually my second question. Usually whenever whenever the forces are deployed, be it the Army, Navy, or the Air Force, it is usually deployed once the calamity has already struck. But in this case, the Navy was right there in middle of the calamity as it was happening and carrying out the rescue operation.
Yeah, I would like to mention that the nature of any HADR operation on land and at sea is fundamentally different. On land, generally, while like if there is, let us say, a cyclone affecting a particular area, when it is going to make the landfall, we have all the preparations, and actually, moment the disaster strikes, the work starts. However, it picks up momentum after a few hours by the time the cyclone or the eye of the storm has already passed. Whereas at sea, this is not the condition. At sea, the emergency happens when actually the disaster is about to strike or has already struck. There is no time for us to wait for the conditions to become favorable before we move in. So most of the HADR cases which happens at sea or in oceans, you will find that actually naval ships are going the harm's way. They are facing the full brunt of the situation that is happening there. So the onerous task on them is to keep themselves safe, keep the men safe, and thereafter provide succor to the people who are actually affected by that disaster.
That's true, Commodore. And you mentioned about the weight of the particular ship, the INS Delhi Kochi. Was the weight also a consideration in the kind of vessels that were sent for rescue operations, given the fact that the seas were rough, the cyclone was on?
Yeah. So what comes out from this episode is that when you are actually in the middle of a cyclone and you have to conduct SAR operations, then you need platforms which are relatively stable. I mean, sending a platform of 1,000 ton or 1,500 tons, perhaps even 2,500 tons, a normal OPV or those kind of vessels, they will themselves be tossing up and down uncontrollably. Same whether you are 7,000 tons or whether you are 1,000 ton, when nature decides to take charge of you, I can assure you that only those people who have faced the fury of nature in these kind of conditions, they know that we are like toys in the hand of nature at that time. It doesn't make any difference how heavy you are when nature decides to take charge of you. But having a big platform, having a stable platform with its stabilizers, with all its equipment working, because if I can tell you, when the winds are of the speed of 140 to 150 kilometers per hour, your radar antenna can be flown off, your communication antenna could blow off. You cannot stand, you cannot allow your men to go on upper deck. They will just get swept away by the ferocious winds. So in this kind of a situation, having a platform which is relatively stable makes your job little easier. But it is only in the hindsight that, sitting here, I can say that for Kochi or for Kolkata, being a heavier platform, it was relatively easier. It wasn't. I have been on a ship of the similar tonnage, and I can assure you, I have taken part in SAR operations. When you are faced with weather, that time you realize that how tiny we are actually. When those towering waves come and hit you, when the wind takes charge of you, it doesn't matter. But yes, given the resources at our disposal, I would say that it is a more prudent decision to deploy the platforms which are relatively stable than the smaller ones who themselves will get into danger.
Commodore, you earlier mentioned that you were able to send 3 ships instantly from the Mumbai harbor for rescue operations. Now, for the viewers, sending a ship is not as easy as starting a car, getting into it, and just driving off. There's a lot of planning that really goes into it. So, Commodore, if you could explain to our viewers, how was this possible? I'm aware of the fact that these ships were already mission deployed, and they were the ones who were bringing in oxygen from abroad, and they brought it into Mumbai, and then they were quickly diverted back. So what was that all about, sir?
In fact, the first 3 ships which went on the first day, I would like to remind our viewers that those were the ships who actually had brought the first lot of LMO, that is liquid medical oxygen, from Gulf countries for our countrymen who were facing the full fury of that COVID second wave. And that is basically, that's inherent in Navy. The flexibility, the adaptability, the role changing that we can do, that is the strength of Navy. I can give you an example of a ship being mission deployed. Suddenly it gets, let us say, some intelligence. It gets into another operation. There is a requirement to visit another port in a foreign country. So there she is conducting the diplomatic role, sails out. Maybe there is emergency at sea. She immediately gets into HADR role. She can, do a drug bust operation. That's a constabulary role. That is the flexibility of naval forces, which all over the world, all great powers, all major countries, they realize the importance of Navy, because Navy can quickly change its role from one to another without any ado, without any delay, and deliver the same effect.
That's true, and I completely agree with you on that. But Commodore, one question, the men on board these ships have been operationally deployed. They were there for for the regular operations. Since last year, the Navy has been in a heightened state of operation. Then they were diverted for oxygen, for bringing in oxygen, and then for this particular relief, rescue and relief ops. How long have these men been at sea, sir, including the ship as a whole?
Without going too much, without going too much into past, let me just tell you about last 2 years or so, more than about 26, 27 months have been operationally very, very intensive and very demanding period for armed forces of this country. We have got ships which are deployed all over on mission-based deployments. We have to maintain very, very high degree of readiness at every time. We are fully loaded at any given time for any contingency. All of you are aware of the kind of situation that we have faced in last 2 years or so. But like I said earlier, it is that flexibility of a naval platform where a particular ship, I'll not take a name, would have gone for a HADR mission and would have saved some lives, but she might as well be carrying her full arsenal of missiles and torpedoes and bombs. So whatever is required in a given time, we employ that, and that is why we take a lot of pride in calling ourselves combat ready, credible, and cohesive force, because we are always combat ready. We have a credible reputation as the foremost Navy in this part of the world, and we act as a very, very cohesive team, and that is why no mission is impossible for us.
Well, it's so good to hear those words coming from you, and the confidence that you've brought in for the viewers, especially, to understand that the Navy can be deployed quickly, fast from a complete combat scenario to a rescue situation. Thank you so much, Commodore, for speaking to the print and explaining to our viewers the challenges that you faced while carrying out this massive rescue operation that has actually enabled saving of lives of at least 200, if not more. Thank you so much, Commodore.
Thank you. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.